Hello! Today we'll be finding out what's in this little box and what it does. But just before we get into that, a quick reminder, please like or dislike this video if you didn't like it. Comment down below, please subscribe if you haven't already, and don't forget to click on the little bell icon that will tell you when I'm uploading stuff. What's in here? It's called the ViFly Beacon, and it is basically a beeper that ViFly have produced. Not the first time they've done it. I've still got a couple of them. They released a couple of these beepers here. I've got one connected, and they work the same way. They would connect up to your flight controller through beeper and ground and voltage, and basically they would detect if there was no voltage going through there, and if that was the case they'd start beeping because they've got their own battery. So good if you had a crash and then your battery came out, it would beep and it would still act as a regular beeper. So what is the difference between this one? Different sort of point of view, this one. This comes in this little box, like all of them did, and is all sort of tucked around in here. And you get with it some instructions, a cable tie, a little sticky thing, and this little guy here. You will notice it doesn't seem to have any wires coming out of it, and there is a reason for this. This was actually produced with the idea of going on to your DJI style quads, your Phantom, your Mavic, that sort of stuff. So it would stick on, you'd maybe put that cable tie around it, you'd turn it on and you'd launch, and if it crashes, essentially it would start beeping. How does it do that? It's got an accelerometer inside. And I was quite interested in this because it seems to work slightly differently than the other ones I've seen. Their sort of basis is that as soon as you turn them on, if there's any movement that stops for more than 30 seconds, it will beep. On this one, it seems to have sort of different ways of looking at it. So it doesn't think it's taken off until it sort of gets some sort of movement, and it says it detects a crash. I take it it's like a sudden stop equals a crash, and if nothing happens then for 30 seconds it will start alarming. So it's got a little USB port for charging and doing some settings. It's got a little button to take it on, turn it on and off, and it's obviously got the beeper there, which is pretty loud. But I would say to this, it's like, well, I've always found this quite useful on a race quad. If you've got lots and lots of quads, like I have, it's quite hard to sort of fit them all out with beepers that you connect in, and you might run out of space and places to put them to. But I've always had different sort of beepers similar to this that I've basically, with a rubber band on a battery, I've sort of gone that way, and that way I can move around. So yeah, most certainly if you've got a Phantom or a Mavic and you're worried that if it goes down and the app won't find it, I have to say the app's pretty good. As long as your DJI product stays powered on, you can generally find it because you know the GPS position. But if not, this will start beeping. But also, if you're on sort of the race quad type stuff like this, 3-inch, 5-inch, this is pretty good. Anyway, let's go and have a closer look at the features and see how it works. Okay, so here's a little beacon, and quite handy just to show a close-up here, so you can see obviously the beeper, the USB connector, and the button there, and there's that little inbuilt light on the back. So the operation is a little bit different than the other ones I found actually. So let's turn it on. I'll show you what you get. Hold down 2 to 5 seconds, it does that little beep, and then from that point it starts doing these little chirps. The little chirp thing's a bit of a weird one. I don't know if I particularly like it. It's kind of a slight annoyance to me flying a regular quad. I guess if once you've taken on stuff you're okay. The alarm state will work in one of 3 ways. One is it detects a crash, and it does this via the accelerometer, and I guess what you're looking at is sort of something like that. I have crashed. And then you get a slightly different beep. You notice you get this every 1 second, you'll get this little beep, and after something like 30 seconds it will start alarming. It is very loud. I'm just going to cover that because it's got this secondary thing when it's alarming, that if you pick it up and run away with it, it sort of detects like maybe someone's trying to steal me. So I'll show you what happens if I pick it up while it's alarming. Right, I've picked it up and I'm running away, and now it's beeping continuously. So that's an interesting one, because I know a bunch of people have said I wouldn't want something beeping because it would encourage people to steal it. So the other thing it will do is alarm if the quad is static for more than 5 minutes. So I guess if it hasn't detected there's a crash and it's just there on the floor, after 5 minutes it will alarm, which I'll just test out quickly. And while I've just noticed it, the LED works in much the same way as it did for the last one. So if I turn the lights down, you'll see the LED starts going off. So that's sort of dark activated. Yep, so the 5-minute thing seems to work. The other way it will alarm, because there's always somebody that says, okay, well, what happens if I land in the tree and it's windy and it's swinging around? After 40 minutes of power on, this will just start alarming anyway. So I'm slightly, a little bit worried about what would constitute a crash, rather than just like it came down and it thinks it's not crashed. I mean, it seems not too bad in fact that 5 minutes on static and it will alarm anyway. A detection of a crash equals 30 seconds, it will start alarming. But you can actually set the sensitivity. If you plug a USB cable in, you hold down the button, you've got like medium, low and high sensitivity. But that's the general gist of it. I'm gonna pop it on a quad now and see how it works if I just pop it down fairly gently in the field. Will it start alarming straight away, or will it take 5 minutes to start going off? Let's find out. Hello! So, I've got the little beacon here, and the first thing I want to test, because it's just started light rain, hopefully it'll stop, is exactly what constitutes the crash. So I was going to just hover it, put it down, sort of plump it down, and see if that counts, basically. See if in 30 seconds it starts beeping. So I guess we wait 30 seconds and see what it does. So we're past the 30-second mark, so we can only assume that it needs more of an impact. This is a bit hard to tune, isn't it? So eventually this will go off after 5 minutes anyway, because of lack of movement. But what I'm going to try and do is just ditch it out there somewhere and see what happens. So off for a very quick flight, which is already about 5 times longer than it should be, because I'm wanting to ditch it down, but I don't want to, you know, actually crash it where I'm going to break a prop or something. So my idea here is just to sort of come along, sort of spin round, and then hopefully just disarm and drop down vertically to cause a sort of crash, like that. Again, that wasn't a very big impact, but still you'd want it to sort of start sounding fairly quickly. And we've got one. Yeah, so that was a big enough crash apparently to make it happen. I didn't go far away, but let's follow the beeps and see if we can find it. It's now going into your stealing me alarm. So yeah, we're only about 50 meters away there, but the beep's pretty good, and it still goes off. Okay, thought we'd test loudness by taking it further out there, dropping it down and going to find it using the beeper. I've got all my stuff packed ready to go, so I don't have to leave stuff here and wander off a long way. Oops, that was an accidental real situation. I meant to come out of air mode. I ended up disarming quite high up, so now we have to go and find it. Somewhere sort of middle of the field. At the moment, can't hear anything, so let's go find. It's always useful to do a proper real test, even if you didn't mean to. I can hear the beeping. I mean, I didn't drop as far away as I actually wanted to be fair, but I also didn't mean to plonk it on the ground. You should just be able to hear them coming from here. You can see in a field like this what a nightmare it is if your battery comes out, or you've got no beeper or something like that. It's just long grass. So this one doesn't beep that often. It's about every 3 seconds or something. Even though we're getting close to it, it's like, can't hear anything. Well, not can't hear anything, you can't pick it up. It's so easy to walk straight over your quad if you haven't got anything telling you where it is. Here it is. I'm being stolen, it says. On this particular occasion, something else interesting has happened, and that is that the ViFly beeper that was there has come out. Fortunately, it's also battery back, so it's just a question of looking. There it is. Okay, so that was still only about 100 metres. Sound kicked in, I think about 8-ish metres. The question is whether it was this one or that one. I could hear 2 distinct beeps. Didn't expect this one to come out. It was just in case I couldn't be bothered to take it out to do the test. But yeah, seems fine, seems to work. Quad wise, don't you just love long grass? Not a single thing wrong with it. It just dropped from about 40 odd metres down to the floor. Seems absolutely fine. This did pretty good, didn't it? Now obviously this was designed to be used on things like perhaps this Mavic Air here, and it would stick on top or maybe at the side somewhere. And as I said, it's kind of, the GPS in this is pretty good and gives good feedback on the app, but of course there's nothing wrong with having an extra level of protection just to help you find it if it goes down long grass, something like that. For me, I think this is pretty good on a race type quad. It's just a few little things I'd love to see. Perhaps as like user profile settings that you could change. For example, I don't like the fact it chirps. It does this little beep beep, beep beep to tell you it's on. It's like, okay, I've switched it on. That initial couple of beeps should tell me that's on now, and that would be fine for me. Obviously, I'd like a little bit more fine tuning about how much it takes to have a crash, as opposed to just that's a landing. In the situation I had one I call quite a heavy landing, which didn't register as a crash. Now, that's okay, I can deal with the sort of low, medium, high things about crashing, but what I'd perhaps like is a way of changing the timeout for the sort of stationary thing, which is set to 5 minutes. If I could set that to a minute or 2 minutes, then I'd have the best of both worlds, because even if I crashed and it didn't register as a crash, then after 2 minutes or 1 minute time instead of 5 minutes, it would start beeping. I don't have that worry about where is it, what's going to happen. But I quite like the anti-theft thing, because I think somebody picking that up wouldn't immediately think that it's sort of there's a button on this little thing to press. They'd think it's perhaps the battery on the quad to unplug, and perhaps when that happened they wouldn't steal it. It's never something that's really come up to me, but as I said, some people have mentioned it and didn't want this type of beeper because they were worried about people taking. So that fits the purpose there. So yeah, the ViFly Beacon, approved as a lost model finder. Have something just in case your quad goes down. You need something that's got a battery in it that will beep on its own, just in case. And this one's quite a nice bet. Thanks for ViFly for sending it over, and of course there'll be links down below for where you can get this. Hope that's been helpful. Catch you next one. Bye for now. Well, you've made it to the end of the video, so thanks once again for watching. If you like what you saw, then please consider subscribing, and if you really like what you saw, then be sure to check out the link to my blog for a variety of ways in which you can help support this channel.